So what I like about Rand Paul and the libertarian wing of the Republic is they're very anti-war. He's a non-interventionist. I'm all for it. I think this is where the progressive left and the libertarians certainly can come together. Here he is with Jake Tapper. And again, as we told you, and, every time they do it, I get upset. And then I remember, it makes me look better because I keep telling people that every establishment news outlet will be for every war. And they are. Right? CNN, MSNBC, ABC, New York Times, Washington Post, for every war. And so here we go. So Rand Paul comes on to kind of break down why we should get the hell out of the Middle East. And, of course, the newsman makes the case for war. Here we go.
President Trump calls Obama the founder of ISIS because he says Obama's decision to withdraw troops from Iraq created this power vacuum in the Middle East. Does the president, doesn't he now?
I think it's important.
Go ahead.
I think it's important that we get history correct here. Where did ISIS begin? They began in Syria in the midst of a civil war. The civil war got worse as the U.S., Qatar, and also Saudi Arabia were supplying arms to people like ISIS, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, Sunni extremists fighting against Assad. The problem is, and this is the mainstream foreign policy problem of our country, we think we always have to be involved. Maybe when there's two evils, Assad may be an evil, Sunni extremists may be an evil. Maybe we shouldn't always have to choose a side and be involved in war. But we got involved in that war, and we added to the chaos. And so the millions of people that left, that's on the hands of many Americans who said, like Hillary Clinton, we've got to be in there, and we've got to somehow get rid of Assad. It should not be the job of America to be replacing regimes around the world.
Let me just correct one thing he said that's incorrect. We didn't join the Civil War. We started it. So the CIA went in, and Saudi Arabia, and we funded literally the al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, factions of ISIS. They called them moderate rebels. There's no such thing. And so they fund literally the CIA. Jeffrey Sachs, we did another video. He explained this to the people on Morning Joe Ball, right? Which then they completely ignored. But so the way the Syrian war started was literally the CIA went in, funded these. We've been trying to overthrow Assad, not just since 2011 in the Arab Spring, but for decades, right? And so this isn't new. They just found a new lie to tell you about why they want to do it. And the reason why we're in Syria is at the behest of Israel, and they want to put a pipeline. Saudi Arabia wants to put a pipeline through Syria. And so they can sell natural gas to Europe. And, of course, Russia doesn't want them to sell it because Russia supplies that to Europe. So that's why they're there also. So I just wanted to clear that up. This isn't about us joining. This is about us actually engineering us a civil war in Syria. Okay.
This is what President Trump recognized in Iraq, that was the biggest foreign policy disaster of the last several decades. And he's right. But guess what? All of these Republicans and all these generals you quote, they still don't get that the Iraq war was a mistake. And they're wrong, and I think the people actually know it. And if this were put to the people, this is polled all of the time. I think 69% of the people were polled in a Pew poll recently and said we should get out of Afghanistan, whether it's sooner or later or immediately. People are ready to come home.
You still...
He's 100% right about all that. People want to get the hell out of these things. And, Jake Tapper, before the head quoted, Trump's all his military advisors said he's doing it wrong. Yeah, these are the people who told us that we should go into Iraq. The same military advisors who say we should stay in Afghanistan. The same military advisors who said we should go into Libya. We should stop. We got to stop listening to those guys. You don't ask Chris Christie when we should close the buffet.
Talking about the way that we're doing it, but I do want to ask you just one philosophical point, and I don't want you to...
Now, watch this. This is one of the most underhanded bullshit corporate news tool-y things I've ever seen. Now, let's remember, Jake Tapper, for every war and more of it, because he's part of the corporate news media, and they're sponsored by fossil fuel companies and the military-industrial complex. And here's a guy who's actually trying to tell the truth about it. Watch the kind of BS bullshit he does. I know that I just repeated myself.
To think that I'm being rude here, but I'm just wondering, in the last 20 years, is there any act of U.S. intervention with military force abroad that you support?
Whenever you start a question off with a disclaimer like that, it means some nonsense is coming.
Hey, I'm not trying to be rude here, but why are you always aren't you up for any wars?
Philosophically speaking, though,
We got like 8 of them for you. You're not into any of them, not even a little.
Have there been any you've been for? Oh, so you're not for any war? Oh, okay. That's what he wants to do, right? Oh, so you're not for any war?
We get it. You're that guy. Ooh, no wars.
So that's what Jake is trying to do here. Otherwise, why would you ask that question? Not like, well, I know that, Senator, you're actually, you're not a peacenik. You're actually for war. So go ahead and tell. No, he's like, you're not for any war ever, are you?
There's something wrong with you.
That's what he's trying to do. That's exactly what he's trying to do, except Jake Tapper is as bad of a journalist he would also be a bad lawyer because he asks a question he doesn't know the answer to.
And on a serious note, if Jake Tapper really wanted to explore that philosophy, what he would have said is he would have been like, you are typically a non-interventionist. Why?
Yes.
That would have been, if he really just wanted to explore the philosophy, that's how he would have posed that question.
Right, but he asked it in the douchiest way possible.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And look at this guy. He's a comedian, and he came up with that question.
Right? Okay. So, but guess what? He's not only a bad journalist, also a bad question asker because he doesn't know the answer to that question, and he thinks he does. So here we go.
Did you support going?
Yeah, I supported.
Go ahead.
Yes, after we were attacked on 9/11, I did support to go into Afghanistan. I would have voted for the resolution. But we're ignoring the resolution. It said we'd go after those who planned, abetted, aided the people who attacked us. It never said anything about associated forces, never said anything about war in Yemen, Somalia, Mali, Syria. None of this was ever authorized by Congress. So what we are doing in like 7 different war theaters right now is unconstitutional, and we shouldn't be doing it. But I did support going in after 9/11. But I have not supported the nation building. I would have declared victory long ago and come home. And so when the president declares victory over ISIS, he's exactly right. We took back 99% of their land. Aren't these people going to stand up and now fight for themselves? Can they not do anything? And it doesn't work to have Americans there policing Muslim lands. It just engenders more terrorism. The longer Americans stay, the more terrorism you'll have. We are so forward deployed that we can attack on a moment's notice from anywhere on the planet. So us leaving doesn't mean we don't have to be involved. We are off.
He said he just did a great. He goes, "We're so forward deployed," meaning we got troops everywhere in the world. So this doesn't mean we're not going to be able to attack somewhere at a moment's notice. We can. We got submarines and troops everywhere. That's what he's saying. So pulling out of Syria doesn't make us less safe.
Shore, under the waters. We are everywhere around the planet. There is nothing about us leaving that means that we couldn't be involved if we had to be involved. But really, the people who live there, the Muslims who live in these lands need to police the Muslims who live in these lands. If it's Americans, it'll always be seen by those who live there as some sort of religious crusade, and it encourages more terrorism. So the sooner we get out of that mess, the better.
Thank you very much. That's a Ladow's soapbox. Thank you very much, Rand Paul. And I just wanted to show you that because he's 100% right. We're there illegally. Again, that's all stuff Jake Tapper will never say. So that's what kind of gets me is that he'll tell you we're there illegally. We're not supposed to be there against the UN Charter. There's nothing there that says we should be there. Oh, I forgot that we're there illegally. Yeah. No one ever. They never say that.
He makes the case. He's so reasonable. I'm actually glad he was asked the question about intervention.
Me too.
Because all of a sudden he lists everything and describes exactly how we're not authorized to continue in all of this deployment throughout the world.
The longer, I like how he closed it out. The longer we stay in the Middle East, the more terrorists we have.